Hello, my name is Eric Vaughn. I'm the Executive Director of Douglas County CASA, and welcome to another volunteer online roundtable. Um, Today is going to be a little bit different because it's a recorded webinar, which would be normally shared during the first Wednesday of June 2020. So normally we would have been hosting on June 3rd a volunteer roundtable discussion, but instead this week it will be an opportunity that's by video, and hopefully people will watch it and engage, and then please provide us any questions or feedback that you all would have. So today's topic is really about preparing for our visits, and the reason why we're timing this and recording it is so all volunteers will have access to it and not just those who participate on Wednesday, because we are opening up again, or at least lessening some of the restrictions on face-to-face visits, and we're really wanting to engage in a conversation about that and work towards having more face-to-face visits with children again whenever it is safe. So we will cover that, kind of what to expect and how to support preparing your kids for that. If your case is one of those cases we decide it's safe to have face-to-face visits. So yeah, let's get started. And I did want to just first provide or have a special thanks to Patty Sabin. She is the president and CEO of Michigan CASA, and she put together a similar or couple videos with for basically the basis of the content for today's video that we'll be sharing with you. So she put in a lot of work in putting that together, and just wanted to make sure we said thank you and recognized her for that. So first, just a quick summary of our COVID safety plan. So this is being recorded the very end of May, and we're preparing for allowing, in limited cases, face-to-face visits again with kids starting June 1st of 2020. So we did just want to say, our plan is out there. We shared that with you all a few weeks ago. And just as a reminder, it is subject to change, and a lot has changed. So it's subject to change based on what KVC is doing, the 7th Judicial District, the City of Lawrence, even Baldwin City, Eudora, or Douglas County, what's happening with the schools, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and then also, Parks and Rec and all those places, because the guidance is really dependent on what's happening locally. For us, as even though there's guidance at the state level, the governor has allowed that to be just guidance and no longer orders that are in place. And so we really need to pay attention to what is happening locally. So it is subject to change. But really the key piece of our plan is safety. Safety is key. I mean, that is why CASA exists, is to make sure that we advocate for the safety and best interest of kids. So we want to make sure that we're doing that during this COVID pandemic and situation that's happening. So really the first guidance that we're giving everybody is if something can be done remotely, it needs to be done remotely. And as I did mention, face-to-face visits will be allowed starting June 1st, 2020 on a case-by-case basis. We do expect that nobody is transporting children, and if they are doing a face-to-face visit, nobody in the home or wherever you're visiting, and you yourself are not in a high-risk category, you're not sick, you're checking your temperature, and then also make sure you're wearing those faces, or the face mask you're maintaining 6-foot distance from others, and that you're sanitizing things before and after visits. Our office will be open, in quotes, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to make sure that somebody is in the office to answer the phone at that point and accept deliveries. However, the office will remain closed to unscheduled visits, so make sure if you are stopping by the office that someone knows you're coming, that you have particularly emailed or had a conversation with someone and they know that you are coming. because we want to make sure that there's somebody there in the office to greet you. But then once again, if it is something that can be completed by email or by phone or doing Zoom or FaceTime or something like that, you're using those mechanisms to have those meetings rather than meeting face to face. We love you all. We love seeing you, and we wish that the situation was different and it was safe to open it up and have everybody come like normal. And totally looking forward to having a sunny, beautiful Friday afternoon when people stop by and we can see each other and talk and shake hands again, but that's just not the situation that we're in right now. So we look forward to that. So for right now, make sure you're scheduling with somebody. They will be there in the office to visit, to meet you and let you into the building. So we wanted to make sure that we provided some content for you as CASA volunteers as you're getting kids ready for maybe a possible face-to-face visit. So make sure you're working with your volunteer advocate coordinator before you start talking with kids at all about any face-to-face visits, because we want to, of course, make sure that the placement is open to it, that you're open to it, and that everybody kind of knows what expectations to have. And so this will help give you, this presentation will help give you some information to think through and how to prepare yourself as well as kids as you work towards that. So the first and foremost is, take your individual child into consideration when you're preparing for a face-to-face visit. So consider their development. So really you're looking at what is their ability, what is their understanding, and also their willingness. So do they understand, and are they able to follow social distancing rules? So once again, our job is to keep kids safe. So this includes the COVID situation right now. So we really do need to consider, is your kid the type of kid that even though you've had the conversation and they say they understand that they can't hug, are they still going to run to you and give you a hug when you show up? So keep all of that in mind when you're planning whether or not to start planning a face-to-face visit with your assigned child or children. Some things to think about as you communicate with your kids, whether or not you're planning on a face-to-face visit or not, make sure you say, hey, I still am in your life and I care about you and I want to interact with you. So you can still have those visits by phone and FaceTime and other ways. And if you're needing help doing that, please let us know so we can maybe get you or the family or the child resources so that they can be able to do that. And also communicate with them, hey, we're following what the doctors are telling us to do. So there's this virus that's out there and it's making people sick, and we want to keep you protected from that. And one way that we protect you and other people from that is making sure that we follow all of these restrictions and rules that people have in place. It's about keeping you and your family safe. And it's okay to communicate those things and make sure that they understand that. So and I also wanted to include some information, although we've talked about this on prior volunteer roundtable discussions. Think about fun things that you can do with video visits. So you can share or show your favorite things. They can do the same thing. Share their toys, their pets, their books. Read something together. Have something to look forward to. So some volunteers, they make it a point to share a funny video or something with the child each time or before the visit, so they have something to look forward to and to talk about. Take silly pictures and share those. If you're a singer, do a sing-along. If you like doing crafts or something like that, then do that. Especially with younger kids, you can create a fun story together, kind of ad-lib or create a fun story together, and play some games. So there's good online games or other games that you can play together without having any equipment. So there's lots of resources out there. So be creative and continue to do those weekly check-ins by phone or by video whenever possible, and especially if you're not going to be doing face-to-face visits at all or monthly. And just as a reminder, we are easing restrictions and saying we are allowing face-to-face visits, but it's not a requirement right now. An Office of Judicial Administration that certifies our program, what they're looking for is making sure that we're documenting in our file when they see we are not doing a face-to-face visit, why that is. So we just need to make sure we're documenting that and saying this particular volunteer did not do a face-to-face visit because of COVID. It's still an unsafe situation. And that will be sufficient for the Office of Judicial Administration anytime they would audit us or our program at this time, just because they're in the same boat. Their offices are closed. They're not entertaining visitors. They're even going to do their audit with us probably virtually this year instead of coming on site and doing that. So they 100% understand that and want to make sure that we're keeping kids safe. Other ways to prepare children for visits is just letting them know that some things will be the same, some things will be different. But make sure that you consider the development of your child as you start this conversation. So that might not be, if you're not going to have a visit with them, obviously don't start having the conversation with them about it. But also keep in mind their development and whether or not they'll be able to understand what things are or are not different. So some things to talk with them about is, in addition to making sure that we want to do things and keep people safe and healthy, is, and one of those reasons, for the reason that we can't hug is because we're trying to keep people safe. So sorry, no hugging. And it's okay to acknowledge that it's weird and to say, I really want to hug you too, but we just can't, So be open and sharing those emotions of, sadness and missing out, and kind of normalize that for kids. Be a good example and model for that. Continue to stay 6 feet apart. Help them understand how far 6 feet is. Help them mark it out somewhere so they can see it or talk about it. About how big is 6 feet? Is it twice your height, or or as tall as I am? That type of thing, so they can understand how far 6 feet is, and then make sure they understand that they're going to be wearing a mask, that you're going to be wearing a mask. Anybody around them coming to their home is going to be wearing a mask if they don't live there with them, because that helps keep everybody safe from this virus that is out there. Also, remind them that when they are wearing a mask, that needs to cover their nose and their mouth, because that's where those germs can be shared and make other people sick. So that helps keep those germs in. So as we mentioned, we're going to be wearing masks. So kids, as long as they're 2 years old or older, should be wearing a mask. And yeah, unfortunately, they're not superhero masks. They're protective masks. So either disposable ones or clean cloth masks should be worn. And encourage them to ask questions. Ask an adult if they need help putting it on. What happens if my mask wiggles or my face itches? What can I do? Well, ask an adult. Make sure you're not touching the mask unless you have to. So when you're putting it on or when you're taking it off, you can touch the mask. And if you do touch the mask, make sure you're washing your hands. If you do happen to need to readjust it or scratch, and ask an adult for help. That's okay. That's why people and adults are in your life. And once again, just helping them with their emotions and normalizing that it's okay to talk about their emotions. All emotions are fine. You can maybe even self-disclose the emotions that you've been feeling too. Especially with younger kids, once again, keep in mind what's developmentally appropriate. Saying, "Oh, I really miss being able to see people's smiles because they're wearing these masks. Isn't that weird?" Those types of things are really appropriate, just to kind of spur that conversation and be an example that kids can share those things as well. So where will visits happen? Initially, visits are going to happen at the home. No transporting of children at this point. It, the visits can happen just outside the home or the placement, maybe in a park if it's safe close by. It is also okay that, if you pre-arrange with the case manager or the foster home, they're transporting the child somewhere else to meet somewhere else, but just make sure you keep in mind if it's a public place or not and how many other people are going to be there. Those other people around are following the rules. And if you do meet in a park or somewhere else, make sure that you're cleaning things off, sanitizing them, have wipes with you and hand sanitizer to be able to use in those situations. So some things are going to be different. So it's best not to have food or snacks around. Just make sure you prepare children for that, especially young kids. They may not understand why can't they have a snack. Well, you're gonna have to take your mask off to do that, and that means it's not going to be safe. And so make sure they know, and maybe they can have their snack, right before you visit or right after. Make sure you know what their schedule is going to be if they have one, and when snacking or having a meal will be happening. Encourage them to have windows open or good ventilation whenever possible, or be outside. Research has shown that good airflow does help get the virus out of the air, and it is safer that way. Minimize the toys and other things that are going to be in the room whenever possible. So make sure you're not bringing in things either. Unfortunately, we're in this time period where maybe if you normally bring a gift or something, really think about how you can do that in a way that's safe. I don't want to say you can't do that at all, but do limit that and make sure you're doing it in a way that's safe. And maybe just keep that for special circumstances, birthday or something like that. Make sure that you clean items in the space before and after a visit. And once again, people need to be wearing masks. Acknowledge that it's weird, but it's there to keep you safe. And then also then be clean and have good hygiene and follow those hygiene rules. So that's another thing you can share with kids. Share how to stay clean and follow good hygiene practices. So wash your hands or use hand sanitizer at the beginning and end of visits. Make sure that if you're coughing or sneezing, that you're coughing or sneezing into your elbow, like that man is doing there in the top picture. And then at the end of visits, adults will spray or wipe things clean for them and others. And that'd be great if the kids could help out with that, if that's appropriate and something they can and want to do. And when we don't feel good, then we're going to be staying home and keeping our germs to ourselves. So if you're not feeling good, let me know. Even if that's a last minute thing and we need to cancel, let's reschedule so we can keep you safe. Some other things that you probably want to remind kids about is they don't have to remember all these new things, right? Remember, this is all new for everybody, and everybody's going to need help. And some of these things are changing all the time too, right? So it's probably best to ask for help or help you remember things. And maybe have them or share some examples with them about things that you have questions about or had questions about that you wanted to know. Questions like, oh, we're going to be able to hug? Do I have to wear a mask? What things can I have in my room or in the room when we meet? And where are we going to meet? All those types of things. It's okay to ask all of those questions. And once again, make sure that they know and understand that all their feelings are normal and okay during this time. Maybe even share with them how you are feeling. Remind them that things will not be like this forever, but it's going to be like this for a little while. It's just going to be different. So we do have to wait until the doctors tell us that it's safe to not wear masks anymore so we can hug again, those types of things. So make sure, once again, you're not promising that it's going to be a short time. Things are going to change. Hopefully we'll get back to being able to have visits without masks and those types of things, but we don't know when that's going to happen. So we do have to be patient, and we're in this together. So that section was about younger kids. So there's lots of the same information for tweens or teens, but wanted to make sure we talked about that and kept that developmental piece in mind as well. So you'll still need to consider not just their age, but their development and their behavior. So remember, their prefrontal lobe is not fully developed, so executive function delays and other things are happening with our kids that we serve. So once again, consider their development, their ability, understanding, and their willingness to follow the rules. And so once again, just reiterating, it's our job to keep kids safe. So are they able and willing to follow the social distancing rules? Once again, our job is to keep everyone safe, so kids and teens. And so just to remind folks, we're wanting to prepare kids and teens for having visits again. So if you do decide it's safe for you and the child to have a visit as you're having that conversation with your coordinator, then these are ways for you to have conversations with your teen about what that is going to look like. So once again, where and when visits will happen. So once again, we're going to be following what medical professionals in our state say and when they say it's safe. And so when they do say it's safe, we'll have visits in person again. But once again, until that happens, you can continue those video visits. And then in-person visits will happen again as soon as possible, and most likely they'll be happening outdoors in parks and those types of things when it does happen again. And as a reminder, once again, even with teens, work with the case manager or foster parents. Maybe they could drive the child somewhere in order to have an outside visit somewhere, so you're not transporting the child. For indoor visits, just some tips for that. Make sure, once again, windows or good ventilation is available. Wash your hands or use hand sanitizer. Keep toys and other items at a minimum. Clean and wipe down surfaces and items before and after visits. So make sure you're communicating that with the kid and with the placement. And so when that's something that developmentally appropriate, the child can help with the cleaning and the wiping down if that's appropriate. So that helps the placement, foster homes and that thing as well. Your visit not being as much of a burden if the kid and you are able to help out with that. So some tips for good health. These, once again, are not different no matter what your age is. Stand 6 feet apart from others. Cough and sneeze into your elbow. Wear the mask. Make sure that mask covers your nose and your mouth. It should also kind of be under the chin a little bit and fit snugly. Don't touch your mask or your face, your eyes. Wash your hands before and after the visit, or use hand sanitizer if washing your hands is not something you can do at that time. So once again, temporary changes to visits, and we don't know how long this temporary means. This is the current process that we're going to be following for a while until something changes. But masks will be required. No food, snacks, drinks, or gifts for now, if at all possible. Once again, you're going to have to remove that mask to eat something. And then with gifts, if it's not done in a way that's safe, then you're going to be transferring germs or the virus, other things from your home to somebody else's home. So we're trying to minimize that. And then participate in activities with minimal exchanges when possible. And what that means is you're not touching something and then giving it to somebody else who then is touching it and then doing back and forth, right? So think and plan your visit, and if you normally play games, cards or something, play a different game, or like Battleship, where you have your own board and pieces that you're not touching each other's pieces, and then it'll be easier to keep that or to minimize the exchanges. And once again, if you're outside and you're playing something rather than playing basketball, have a soccer ball or kickball, so you're using your feet and not touching the ball with your hands. But once again, that can be a risk, and so make sure you talk with the team before you do that to make sure they understand. If you are touching the ball with your hands, make sure we have a place to go wash our hands after we put the ball away, so we don't accidentally touch our face and transmit anything. So once again, some things to remember: all feelings are normal. Make sure you're talking with the teen about that. And that's probably even more important for teenagers. They're in this time period where they're really concerned about how they come across to other people. So normalizing all feelings during this time and really helping the teenager talk through that is really, I think, important. Make sure they understand they can still hug their family members or people in their household, right? And so as long as it's safe to do that, then making sure you communicate that with your teenagers. They may feel like they can't or it's unsafe to do so. So just help them understand that and remind them there are adults there in their life to help to ask questions and to be there for them. Remind them that this is temporary. Once again, we don't know how long, but it will be temporary, and we think that right now is going to be continuing most likely at least through the summer. But once again, you are there, so if they have questions, make sure they ask you. So hopefully that was helpful for you all to kind of start thinking through what questions you need to think through yourself and what questions kids might be asking, and think through how to prepare your kid no matter what age. So once again, make sure you talk with your volunteer advocate coordinator and make sure that everyone's okay with doing a face-to-face visit before you do it, and plan ahead and prepare the kiddo for that. So as of January 1st, 2020, do keep in mind that there are some summer programs that will be occurring. And remember, we do have access to the Rice Foundation scholarship funds to be able to help with fees and associated costs with those. So look into those. We know that Boys and Girls Club and the Teen Center for Boys and Girls Club and Lawrence Parks and Rec are going to be having some classes and camps and things like that. So do look into those. Most likely the capacity of many of those are going to be limited due to social distancing requirements. Do look into those, and if there's a way for us to be able to make sure our kids have access to those and it's safe, we want to be able to support that. So Rice funds and scholarship funds are available. So please look into that. So thank you. I hope you all have a great week. And as you are going through this video or thinking through anything, and you have a question or have a suggestion, please let your coordinator know or let me know as well. Email us, give us a call. So once again, I know I say this a lot, but I really do genuinely appreciate the work that you all do and the commitment you've made to CASA and these kids. We could not do this work without all of you. So thank you. You do make a difference in the lives of these kids, and I know the progress sometimes is not visible or measurable and you can't see it, but you guys are in this for the long haul, and you're making a difference. We see it every day, and staff that I'm working with who have been here longer than I have seen the beautiful impact that the volunteers have had. So do keep that in mind and talk with your coordinator about that, especially if you're feeling like you're not making a difference, because you are. Have a great week. Thank you.